Our next two guests are spearheading an effort to establish a universal savings account for every American starting at birth. Joining us right now is Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. He's the chairman of the Commerce Committee. Also, Brad Gerstner, founder and CEO of Altimeter Capital. Good morning to both of you gentlemen, but I want to start with the senator, if I could. We've talked about this with Brad, and I believe we actually talked about it with you as well, Senator. This is now past a new step. Where are we in this? How's it going to work? How much is it going to cost the American public? And how much are young kids, hopefully when they get old, going to get from it all?
Right. Well, this is a very exciting initiative that is moving forward because the House Ways and Means Committee just yesterday released the initial draft of their tax bill, and they included within it the idea, Invest America, that Brad has been working on for years, that Brad and I together have spent over a year working very hard to push it forward. The idea is simple, which is that we're going to create an investment account for every newborn child in America at birth. And that investment account, the federal government will seed with $1,000, but that account can receive every year up to $5,000 in contributions from friends and family members and from employers. And those contributions grow on a tax-deferred basis, and they can take it out after they turn 18. What it does is it takes every child in America and it gives them, number one, the miracle of compound growth, the ability to accumulate wealth, which is transformational. But number two, it makes them stakeholders. It gives them a stake in the American free enterprise system. And you asked how much they can save. If you have a baby that is born this year that starts with the initial $1,000 seed contribution over the next 18 years, if $5,000 a year is contributed at 7% growth, by the time they're 18, they have $170,000 in this account. By the time they're 35, they have $700,000 in the account. And so I believe this will be a transformational policy. It's something Brad has built a big community of leaders throughout the business community who are enthusiastically supporting it. I've been pitching it to my colleagues in the Senate, my colleagues in the House, to the president, and I think we're going to get it done. And yesterday's House bill was a big, big step forward.
Senator, before I get to Brad, do you think long-term this would change potentially even Social Security?
I don't know. It is obviously not aimed at the end of life. It's not aimed at retirees. It's aimed at babies. It's aimed at children. And the way you pitched it, Andrew, is the right way to think about it. It's a 401k for kids. And think about how 401ks have changed our society. One of the really powerful things is I think a lot of employers, when this is passed, will find it a very attractive benefit to give to their employees to say, hey, we're going to match your contributions to these investment accounts for your kids, or we're even going to seed them, just like they do with 401ks. And so I think the impact, look, by the time a newborn child is on Social Security, all of us likely will be dead. We'll let a Congress 70 years from now worry about that. What I'm interested in is giving these kids the ability to climb the economic ladder much, much faster, to accumulate wealth. And I think there's a real power to making them investors and stakeholders in the economy, so that a 10-year-old can pull out an app on his phone and say, hey, look, I own $50 worth of Apple. I own $75 worth of Boeing. I own $30 of McDonald's. I go into a McDonald's. I'm an owner of McDonald's. That changes, I think, a young person's attitude when they're a stakeholder in our free market system.
Hey, Brad, congratulations. I know this has been a long time coming. How much is it going to cost on an annual basis?
Well, it's great to be here today. I'm live from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where I'm helping David Sachs and others evangelize about accelerating American AI in the region. And so it's great to be here with you. You know, when you think about this, the leadership that Ted's providing and the House Ways and Means team has provided in putting this in the legislation is absolutely critical. 3.7 million children are born in the U.S. every year. If you seed them all with $1,000 in the S&P 500, that's $3.7 billion a year, Andrew. That's less than the cost of, a single weapon system that we have in our military. So it's a tiny amount of money to get every child in America in the game, to unlock the potential. You know, the president talks about his Main Street agenda. This is every town, every urban block in America, every child in America And so we think this is a major step forward. You just heard from the senator. His leadership was absolutely critical to get this on the agenda. And so we're just absolutely thrilled to see it in the first draft from the House. Thanks goes out to the Speaker and to Jason Smith, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. But we got a long way to go. And, as he said, this is a private sector program, 3.7 million private accounts. And we have CEOs over here in Riyadh right now, Jensen Huang, Dara Khosrowshahi, who have all signed up. They will add to the accounts of the children of their employees when we get these accounts set up. So the government's doing what it does well. It's getting it catalyzed and then getting out of the way and letting the private sector, the upside of the American economy, really drive this program.
And in terms of just how it will work, let's say, obviously, the government puts in the first 1,000, employers and others can do things. You can put in more money yourself. What is the ability to take that money out? And is the goal, I imagine you want this to compound. That's why I mentioned Social Security. I'd love it if that almost, because people keep the money in, then they'll actually have an enormous amount of money when they retire. What's going to prevent people from taking it out? And at what point can you?
So
Senator, why don't you answer that one?
All right. It varies depending on the version. The version that I have filed allows someone, if they choose, to take it out at 18, that if you're an adult, you can make a decision about what to do with the capital and the capital you've saved. You're right, it's much more beneficial if they keep it and save it. The House took my language and they changed it a little bit. They modified it. So they allowed someone at 18 to take out up to half of the amount in the account to use for what they called a qualified expense. And a qualified expense was education or buying a home or starting a business. And then the remainder they could take out at 25 or 30. I'm not sure the precise lines that will be reached because there will be back and forth between the House and the Senate. But I think you will end up seeing either way an investment vehicle that really enables every child to get the benefits, to appreciate the benefits of compound growth. And everyone on this show understands the benefits of being a long-term investor and letting your earnings join your principal and grow the corpus that is growing. And my hope is that this will be a reality for every kid in the country.
Does this replace the 529B, or would that exist separately? Because I've used 529B to teach the same lessons to my kids.
Becky, it wouldn't, and that's the 529 plan is one that was actually my single biggest legislative achievement to date in 13 years in the Senate. Back in 2017, when we were passing the last tax cut, I introduced the legislation that expanded the College 529 savings plan so that it includes K through 12 education. And it ended up, that bill passed on the floor of the Senate. The vote was 50-50. It was 1 in the morning. The vice president came down to the Senate and broke the tie. And that is still to date the most far-reaching federal school choice plan ever adopted. And it lets parents and grandparents save and spend up to $10,000 per year in a tax-advantaged account for education expenses. I'm a big believer in savings in vehicles, and I think 529s like 401ks and like these Invest America accounts are going to be powerful avenues to help people save and accumulate capital and really have a stake in our system. You know, one of the arguments Brad made to me when he pitched this to me, we started talking last April, is he said, look at the polling of young people and what a high percentage of young people say they're socialist and not capitalist. And one of the things I'm excited about this, it's one thing to say it when you feel you don't have a stake in what's going on. It's another thing when you have ownership, you have involvement. And so I think this is really powerful to raise up a generation of capitalists who see the power of, wait, if I can own a little bit of McDonald's, maybe I can go and start a McDonald's. Maybe I can work and build a business. And that's really the American dream. That's what I think is really powerful about this idea.